Good morning, Vietnam. Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back. Today I am checking off Good Morning Vietnam, one of the greatest films of Robin Williams' career, and actually garnered him his first Academy Award nomination. A brief summary of this movie is Airman Adrian Cronauer is sent to liven up the troops in Saigon, Vietnam with his radio show. He's goofy, funny, hilarious, and everyone loves him except for the higher brass, who think his off-the-wall comedy, rock and roll music, and breaking of the rules is just not tolerable. Set during the Vietnam War, Good Morning Vietnam chronicles Adrian's adventures with his radio show, a relationship with a beautiful Vietnamese woman, and his friendship with her brother. The cast in this is hilarious. I mean, obviously Robin Williams, number one, my personal favorite comedian actor of all time. I was devastated when he passed away. Some of my fondest memories of my childhood are watching his movies like Jumanji and Aladdin and so many others. He was gone way too soon, but his memory lives on in some of his greatest works. He is such a great comedic and dramatic actor, but in this, he is such a great comedian. The director gave him pretty much free reign to do whatever he wanted, and he just went nuts with his ad-libs and monologues during the radio shows. That it really shows the true Robin Williams and how just powerful and hilarious his comedy and his comedic sense of timing is. And because I am such a huge fan of his, during some of his just amazing, hilarious monologues, I felt myself starting to tear up because I just miss seeing him on screen so much, and just because he's that powerful. And Robin Williams isn't the only star of this movie. There is Forest Whitaker, a little baby Forest Whitaker, who was so different that I didn't even realize it was actually him. I saw the name in the credits and I was just like, Forest Whitaker's in this? Okay, cool. And then when this guy came on screen, I was like, is that him? But it doesn't look like him. And then as it went on, it started to look like him, but he went from this to this in the span of probably, I don't know, this was in 87. So in the span of like 30 years, he went from this to this. So very big difference, but he's still great in this movie. He is kind of like a background secondary character, but he really helps push Robin Williams' character of Adrian along and help him fulfill his journey through the movie. So he's kind of like a plot device a little bit, but his journey throughout this movie as well is pretty good. It's not really kind of explained or looked upon much until like the very end of the movie, but he still is just a great kind of buddy character to Robin Williams as Adrian. This is a movie though that I have been wanting to watch for ages. I have heard it talked about so many different times. I mean, I believe my mom even used to come in saying the Good Morning Vietnam line to me when I was younger just to wake me up. But it's also just me trying to complete watching every single Robin Williams film ever, and this one was such a good one. I purchased it on DVD before I'd even watched it, which kind of gave me the idea for this video in the first place, but I'm so glad I purchased it because this is one I will be watching over and over again. It's so hilarious, and it has a lot of heart, and you can really see Robin Williams' range throughout this movie. There were a couple of really great scenes, but one of the ones that really stands out to me is the Nixon press conference that they had a recording of, and Cronauer takes that tape because his superior officers weren't letting him take a break to eat lunch. He takes the tape and kind of inserts his own little questions into the tape, and it reminded me a whole lot of what Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers do on their late shows with some of the current president's press conferences. And even though Nixon wasn't the president in this movie, it was still hilarious, and I really loved seeing that funny little bit in there that is something that I recognize from today's comedy culture, that I really feel like Colbert and Seth Meyers kind of not ripped off, but used inspiration from Robin Williams to do their bits in their late night shows. There were a couple bits in this that I wanted to talk about, but they kind of lead into a bigger thing that I wanted to talk about, which is this movie, to me, is kind of a comedic version of Full Metal Jacket in some ways. Both these movies came out in 1987 and they are both about the Vietnam War. They also have very big similarities in the fact that it's taking a person in a military position that isn't necessarily in the combat mode. Like in Full Metal Jacket, the main character is a writer, and in Good Morning Vietnam, Adrian is a radio DJ. And they are both kind of put into this situation that they don't really know much about. It really just shows kind of a different side to the Vietnam War than what the people were seeing during the Vietnam War. Not something that we personally as Americans didn't know about now, but something that wasn't known about a whole lot by the people in that time period. Because it was covered up by the government, which you can see in the new movie The Post by Steven Spielberg with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. They talk a lot about the Vietnam War being covered up and the fact that the Americans weren't doing as well as the president and everyone in the government said they were doing, which also is shown in this movie, in Good Morning Vietnam, as well as Full Metal Jacket. And everything is being kind of covered up and censored by the government and the military. You don't really know what's going on, and in Full Metal Jacket, they are sent there to kind of document the troops and how they are doing, and the troops kind of put on a front that they are doing great. And in Good Morning Vietnam, Robin Williams' character wants to read the news as it is, not being censored or hidden by the government censors, and he is shut down from that, and he's eventually fired because he starts reading the news, and it goes a little something like this.
In Saigon today, according to official sources, nothing actually happened. One thing that didn't officially happen was a bomb didn't officially explode at 14:30 hours, unofficially destroying Jimmy Waugh's Cafe.
Get him out of there.
Another similarity between Full Metal Jacket and Good Morning Vietnam is the amazing rock music, but also the juxtaposition of some songs with some of the scenes. In Full Metal Jacket, they sing the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse March song, or the Mickey Mouse March song. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but they sing a song about Mickey Mouse while they have just killed a bunch of Vietnamese people and are just marching through this burning town at the very end of the movie. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen that, but if you have been watching this channel, I covered this movie a couple months ago, so that probably would have been spoiled for you then. But in Good Morning Vietnam, they juxtapose Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World over explosions, fighting, and the Viet Cong just terrorizing this town that they are living in. It's a very stark contrast between this beautiful song and this horrible fighting, and you really get the sense of what the war was actually like. With both movies, you really do get that sense, because the beautiful or very happy seeming song is contrasting against this horrible image, and that's kind of the way the Americans were perceiving the war at the time. From what I've researched, is they were perceiving the war as this very good thing that they were doing for the Vietnamese people by defending them from the Viet Cong. In reality, they were just doing some horrible things, killing innocent people, and it just wasn't the best situation. A little difference between the two of them though is, and this is something I read from the book, is one of the very few movies about this war that actually shows the Vietnamese people as somewhat human. In most movies, they're shown more to be like second-class citizens, even lower than dirt almost, and most other women are used as prostitutes or just something really horrible, and the American soldiers just kind of made fun of them, and that is really prominent in a specific scene in Full Metal Jacket, which I believe I touch on a little bit in that video. If you want to check out more of my thoughts on Full Metal Jacket, you can check out the video up there. But this isn't about Full Metal Jacket or Stanley Kubrick, this is about Robin Williams and Good Morning Vietnam, and this movie shows the Vietnamese people as a lot more human. They interact with them, they teach them, they have drinks with them, they become friends with them, even though in the end, slight spoiler alert, Robin Williams becomes friends with someone that they are trying to defeat, and he doesn't realize it until he kind of starts his relationship with this girl and is told by his fellow or superior officers that her brother, who has been helping him and friends with him this entire time, is actually a member of the Viet Cong and one of the people who is destroying the city that they're living in and working against them. And he's probably even using Robin Williams' character as an inside man. The clip I chose for Good Morning Vietnam is probably the most obvious clip I've chosen for any of these 1001 videos. There are so many different ones to choose from. I ended up choosing the first time Robin Williams says Good Morning Vietnam just because it's kind of giving you a hint, I guess really, of how his personality is going to be portrayed on the radio and even on the screen. It really shows how funny he's going to be. So without further ado, the best clip in probably movie history.
Good morning, Vietnam! Hey, this is not a test. This is rock and roll.
And that is all I have for Good Morning Vietnam. As always, these are just my opinions, and I would love to know yours in the comments down below. Let me know what your favorite Robin Williams movie is. If you want to know which movies I have seen or just follow my progress, there is a link to a Google Doc in the description down below. It's Oscar season, so the next couple 1001 Movie Challenge videos I will be doing are going to be based around Oscar Best Picture winners. And I believe is the most recent Oscar winner in the edition that I am using the list from, and that is The Artist. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you, whoever you are. Let me know who you are in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I love talking new movies, old movies, TV shows, filmmaking, film history, all kinds of fun stuff with you guys related to movies and entertainment. So I hope you stick around, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!